Ever since we learned that EU5 was going to start in 1337, I've been interested in doing a campaign as Lithuania. They are one of the last remaining pagan countries in Europe, or at least one with a sizable pagan population. We do start off in the middle of the Baltic Crusades, in particular the Crusade for Lithuania, as the military orders are attempting to assert their control and spread Catholicism across the Baltics. This is going to make the start extra challenging, and we might actually even lose. It's possible we might have to fight an uphill battle the entire time. We don't have a tremendous number of units. We do have a pretty solid Grand Duke, but he is rather old. There's a possibility that he could die in the middle of this war. It seems we're allowed to call Poland in immediately, which is a good start. We also need to check what the war goal is. Vilnius, it seems. Okay, so as long as we can keep capital alive, we should be all right for the most part. We will go ahead and call Poland in. Now, because we start Romuvan and I intend to stay Romuvan, we aren't going to be as powerful as we could be. We're going to pick up one religious aspect and we're just going to stick with it the entire time. It should be obvious which one we're going to pick because I never pick any other one. We're going with population growth. And because it costs 30 stability to replace it, that's staying there the entire game. Now, as for our reforms, we do have patrimonialism. I don't think I've actually seen this before, but frankly, I hope to never see it again because this is horrible. Minus 10% tax efficiency, minus 10% estate satisfaction equilibrium, minus 1 cabinet seat, 0.2 progress towards traditionalism, but the estates do get minus 50% power. As a result, we can't really extract too many taxes. Not a great start when you can't exactly fund your war. On top of that, I'm just gonna get rid of that control group. We should have a market. Oh, we do not have a market. If we're successful in this war, I might take Riga. The market, I mean. Well, maybe the city, it depends. But yeah, this is not an excellent start. As for diplo capacity, it's not horrible, but it's not great either. Subjects need to attach to me, of course. And the one cabinet member we have is going to help with giving us some legitimacy to start. Of course, we'll have our son work on that. Research, not much to really do at the start of the game, but we do want this diplo capacity. And then I guess we will queue everything else up. Lots of laws to codify. I don't know if we're really doing much of anything for maritime, so we'll make the burghers a little happier. I think we want more conversion overall. We'll get court language to get more cultural influence, more serfdom, and make the nobility happier. And of course, anti-piracy. Rivals, I think we'll go with this subject of Smolensk here. And then maybe the Teutons. As for cultures, we are a little bit over our accepted culture limit, but we could improve that if we get the Polatskians to like us more. So we'll do that. Might as well also make Samogitian an accepted culture. Then we can also do the same with the Sudovians. It brings us slightly above the accepted culture capacity, but we should get these cores if we don't already. Which we kinda do, but okay, whatever. At least they'll be happier. Currently, the nobility have way too much power, and I don't want to give them anything else. So, to keep them happy for now, we're going to give them feudal nobility. Oh, right, the crown, of course, has changed because I put the general in charge, the Grand Duke in charge of the army, and I put that guy in the cabinet, right? Still, my point stands. I think just for fun this campaign, I'm also going to maximize spiritualism, just to get a whole bunch of conversion speed and do a reverse crusade of sorts. So we're actually going to give tax exemption to the clergy, because that gives them more spiritualism, and I never tax them anyway. The peasants, of course, always need common militias. We have more things to give out, but for now, it's making the nobility kind of upset, so we're just going to bribe them, and then we'll worry about the rest later. Okay, now we can actually play the game. I'm a little bit worried about these Teuton troops, because they don't actually have that many, but they do have professional soldiers to start with, and we do not. That's kind of a problem. Now, that being said, I have just given us common militias, which does increase levy combat efficiency. It should allow them to fight kind of similarly to regular troops. Hopefully, the numbers difference allows us to win, especially with Poland's help. And all we really have to do is not die. A lot easier said than done. That's a really good start. I see we're immediately in a great diplomatic position. This is all really good stuff. Maybe we can be friends with the Golden Horde, maybe? Because you have not rivaled me. Alright, we've captured some Lithuanian troops over here. I'm actually thinking, I'm gonna hire these. Although I don't like that they run so far away when you hire them. Please come back. Okay, well, they'll come back eventually, I guess. Ideally, with this Doom stack, we can literally just instant wipe any stack. No fighting, no casualties. Shouldn't be too difficult, as long as my subjects stick together. Oh wow, this actually was not that hard. To be fair, this is the point in the Baltic Crusades where Lithuania actually kind of won. So, it's not that surprising. Like, this definitely wasn't the most disastrous period of the Northern Crusade for Lithuania. So there's a good chance I actually really did not have to hire those troops. Probably wasted a bunch of money, but oh well. As I always say, money is not real, so it doesn't matter. Well, there he goes. I mean, supposedly he did die in like 2 years from right now in the game, but I was kind of hoping he'd stick around a little longer. Okay, what parliament do we want to take? Well, our main issues are, 1, we need more diplomatic capacity. Solved. Next problem. Okay, it's actually not solved. You know what actually needs to be solved? Patrimonialism. We're going to swap that out for diplomatic traditions. Now we get our second guy. We're going to use that for stability improvements. But we have nobody to work there. Perfect. I love spending legitimacy. At least the guy is good. Anyway, diplo capacity should kind of solve itself a little bit. We could promote state religion. That seems useful. Our tolerance of heathens is not great. Oh, actually, I have a better idea. There we go, some support for the Seimas. We'll ask for a law change away from traditional power to favor the ruler. Now that we've gotten rid of patrimonialism, this is actually a good thing to pick up. So a funny little thing we can do with the Teutons is that because all of their subjects are disloyal, we can actually piece them out separately. So if we go to Riga, we're actually just going to take the capital directly, and we're also going to take the market center, but apparently we have to do it in this order, which is kind of weird. But anyway, that should move the market capital to Vilnius. Perfect. I think it's really funny if we convert some of the Crusader states to Romuva. It actually gives antagonism. That's dumb. Screw it, we're gonna humiliate too. I don't think I'm going to take everything here because that might be too much antagonism, but I am going to take a decent amount. Like, I'll take all of this stuff, that's fine. I'll leave the Livonian order with a couple things. Oh no, what have I done? Never mind, that is actually good. We can install someone, I assume, of our dynasty? Our ruler's younger brother. I actually don't know if that's very useful. I mean, yeah, it gets our dynasty in charge, that's cool. We're not really gonna do much with that though. Unless maybe he dies and then we inherit. Maybe. But then I'd have to fight the Golden Horde and I really don't feel like doing that. I don't know. Okay, last conquest this time, I promise. And then we're going to appease Poland slightly by giving them like 3 things. We'll transfer occupation of, I don't know, what do you want? Oh, your capital's all the way down here. Okay. There, you want this? Alright, there we go. Poland's happy, we're happy, we're dismantling a bunch of forts. I'm not taking any more territory because I can't really fit the extra territory anyway. Looks good to me. Poland breaking alliance? Brother, you cannot be serious. What do you mean breaking alliance? Likely the target of a coalition. Okay, that's true. Actually, he's kind of right. Then we'll create some subjects, like Riga. They're gonna be a vassal, because maybe they can transfer some institutions to me. Alright, well, Poland's just broken their alliance with us. Note to self, never give the AI anything ever. The instant you get even a slightly scary looking amount of antagonism, they will ditch you in a second. We always love a good outbreak just before the Black Death. That's lovely. And what do we have here? Ooh, okay. This is our opportunity to convert to Catholicism. We can pretend to play along, actually convert, or say, absolutely not. This might be pretty bad, actually. All neighboring Catholic countries lose 100 opinion and may declare war. I don't think they're going to, though, are they? We only have, what, 2, maybe 3 bordering Catholic nations? We have a truce with the Teutons and Poland, and what's Denmark gonna do? Well, they might actually do a lot. That's too bad. We will remain Romuvan. Glad we started off losing almost 100,000 people to smallpox, that's great. For the Age of Renaissance, we are a landlocked country for the most part. I think we're going to pick up that proximity cost. Speaking of which, we have some proximity, but it's not amazing. I think the next place we can get a little bit is going to be over here in this subject. Now, they are actually Orthodox, so the first thing we're going to do is change their religion. They're not going to like that, but it's necessary for us to eventually annex them. And now that we actually have our own markets, our tax base has gone up pretty dramatically. Also trade income as well, of course. So at the very least, we should be able to build, I think, 1 hospital in time. Although, come to think of it, we don't actually have that many people in cities or towns. The total urbanized population isn't even 100,000 people. So, you know what? Maybe we actually don't do that. Instead, we'll build a whole bunch of marketplaces around here for better market access and for more trade. Our antagonism has practically cooled down. We'll start another war, first by picking this up, and then whatever compromise they want. I actually do want communal values, and then we'll take this. And we'll fabricate a CB, this time on, I think, Smolensk. It's probably a good idea. It'll be a quick war, in and out. Surely before the Black Death spreads. Surely. If these are all subjects of Bryansk, I think the easiest way for us to do this with the least antagonism is to go into Bryansk and just take this. This should transfer their subjects to us, I think. There we go. And then if we go into Smolensk and do the exact same thing, we fully annex just Smolensk, take all their money, etc. We should get their subjects. This may have been a little bit of a controversial move, you could say, but I still think it was the lowest amount of antagonism we could get for taking that territory. We'll re-release Bryansk, and then I think I'm gonna split Smolensk into a few pieces. So we'll create this subject up here, another subject over here, one here, one here. We'll give that away, and then we will release Smolensk. That's mostly because this city is going to take forever for any other subject to actually integrate. Because of course, when you release an historical subject, you do have to integrate. I just don't want them to be too big. Now, that is putting a little strain on the diplomatic capacity, so we are not going to expand any further than this for now. Also for other reasons. Here we go. Yeah, I didn't actually build any hospitals. I figured the population was too low for it to actually matter that much. The Black Death is spreading pretty quick. We have maybe a few months left before we should close down the country. Let's not forget, we also don't want a coalition to declare war against us, so let's improve relations with more countries. Okay, it's now in Muscovy. I think what I'm going to do is stop automating trade. We're just going to stop doing trade altogether. It's not going to help too much, but I think it does at least a little bit. I have no good evidence supporting this. It's purely vibes-based. Likewise, we're going to isolate the country as well. No foreign trade allowed. It spreads anyway, because there's not really much we can do about that. But I'm going to wait until it spreads a little bit more before we do any of the disease control. Because sometimes it disappears, and then you lose all your stability, and then you have to press the buttons again, and it sucks. So we're just going to make sure it's a real problem first. Okay, I think it's a real problem now. Okay, segregate the infected, present scapegoats, and pray. Oh yay, an influenza outbreak too, that's great. Oh, that's cool. Yep, of course the Grand Duke dies, that makes sense. This guy might also die, so I'm not going to marry him off yet. Yep, there he goes. Oh, of course, this puts us in a union now. That's funny, because I think they actually hate us. This might be one of the most brutal outcomes from the Black Death I have ever endured. Yeah, that is a solid 40%, I think. That is not excellent. Capital's devastated. Everything in the surrounding areas are devastated. We lost almost half of our tax base. We'll also turn trade back on. We have no diplo capacity, so war is off the table, but we can start integrating a couple of our subjects, and I'm sure we still have some laws to change. For example, we can swap off of uneducated masses and go to religious teachings. We gotta start moving some people back into the capital because it was heavily depopulated. Less than 10,000 people. Yeah, we gotta fix that. Actually, that does make me wonder, can I build settlements? Oh yeah. You know, I didn't actually expect the coalition to declare war against me. I didn't think they had it in them. Now, the real problem with this, the reason this sucks, is because if I want to take anything, it costs me an arm, a leg, and maybe a spleen. So, we just have to sit here, beat up some armies, and then leave. And that kind of sucks. This might just be one of those weird instances where the AI likes to declare a coalition war, despite the fact that they couldn't really win it from the beginning. Just part of the weird bloodthirstiness of the 1.0.10 AI. I think I'll just take some money and then come back in a few years with a real CB. It'll just make my life easier. Okay, weird peace screen for a second there, but anyway. What if this was secretly a ploy by the AI to keep me from invading them because now I have a truce and I can't get a CB? Probably not, but if it were the case, it would be pretty clever. Instead, we're just going to get a CB on Pskov. Now, Muscovy is actually fighting the Golden Horde, so we might wait just long enough for them to decline the call to arms, if they might eventually do that. Not that it really matters, we are pretty strong. Okay, never mind, you know what? We're just gonna go to war. Oh, that's new. We get the integrated Ruthenian laws estate privilege, or we can decide to not do that. Okay, what's this? Nobility, estate privilege, efficiency of the cabinet, and legislative efficiency. That does not seem that good, but apparently legislative efficiency is actually really good. It doesn't seem that good because it just makes makes laws a little bit faster, right? But apparently it also helps reduce your antagonism, but I also heard that from someone in a stream chat. So I don't know if that's actually true. In any case, it seems a lot better than most of the things I can give them. I'll probably replace fortification licenses with it at some point. Wait a second, I don't remember sieging Moscow. Was that really just my subject? Alright, cool. I guess we can peace out with Muscovy. I didn't even notice. And yeah, you're going to dismantle forts to make my life easier. Well, actually, it depends on the Great Horde. Maybe I don't remove those forts. That'll do. Alright, Novgorod, that will do. We're gonna steal Pskov and Estonia. We're going to release a different subject here. Alright, we do want to give the tribes something, just a little tolerance of heathen beliefs. Oh, I think this event is actually just regular for everybody. Probably not unique to Lithuania, but it does give us a unique opportunity, because for some reason we have Ruthenian as our court language. We're going to make Baltic, the Lithuanian dialect, our new court language. Probably worth it over the 10 prestige. Now, I think because of that, it makes the clergy a little bit happier. Yeah, there we go. The commoners are happier because the common language is also the court language. Generally just better for everyone, I guess. The truce with the Teutons is over. They also aren't going to be saved by Brandenburg. Not that Brandenburg would have been strong enough anyway. Finally, we can get our complete revenge on the Teutons for that war at the beginning. We'll get a CB for Lithuania Minor, which of course will be ours. It's literally in the name. That's how claims work, I'm sure. This will be the peace deal, which is really not even that expensive. We'll transfer the Livonian Order. We're going to take all of this stuff, maybe carve it into a couple of subjects. Maybe not. We'll see. Actually, it kinda depends on if the Livonian Order hates me. They kinda do hate me. Well, that's fine. It'll be like 50 years before I annex them. Because we do get some proximity over here, I'm just gonna integrate this directly. Actually, no, I'll just make some more subjects. Still keeping this though. Finally picked up that proximity cost reduction. Now, I feel like most armies in this area aren't very strong, so we probably don't need to pick these things up yet. I mean, I'll probably get this at least. But I think I'm mostly interested in picking up this over here, and maybe some literacy, even though it's not that much. Oh, actually, no, never mind. We need to found a lot of towns and cities. We've annexed our first subject, and I think we have at least some proximity over here. Okay, yeah, that's not very much. Oh, beautiful. Okay. I was actually just thinking, hey, we're pretty close to making Vilnius a city. We've been funneling a lot of population in here, and it's like the game read my mind. Absolutely, we should turn Vilnius into a city. It's really useful for us because that gives us additional monthly promotion. It's something I've been trying to maximize for because, of course, we need to funnel population in, but also teach them how to read, basically. Now that it's a city, we could also, I think, put a Pound Lock Canal in there. So that's useful. I think we do need 30 development for that though, maybe, so it might take a while. In the meantime, we're just going to sit back here and chill for the most part. We have a lot of roads to build, a lot of proximity to fix. Not too many subjects we can annex right now, although I might go for these ones up here, and that's why I've actually converted them. They're not very happy with this, but they'll figure it out. It's probably worth building a hospital in here at this point. I don't expect any plagues, but they can come out of nowhere and really cause a lot of problems. I don't think we're looking to expand right now, mostly because we just have too many subjects. So I think we're going to go over here and ask for a law change. Let's do that. We'll swap away from aristocratic court and we'll take itinerant court for a reduction in proximity cost. Actually, these subjects up here are going to take a while because they kind of hate me for converting them. So we might be able to get some proximity down here if I can get myself some roads and bridges. That might do the trick. Let's see, what other laws do I want changed? We'll just go with this. We do want more innovative, actually. Inclusive levies are great and all that, but I think I'm probably going to want noble levies. They tend to contribute the higher quality troops, like cavalry, and they also increase the levy combat efficiency, which makes our levies more effective against mercenaries and regular troops. Wait a second, are you not in line for Volhynia? We have a regent in charge. Okay, regent for who? For no one? What do you mean? She had a son, I think. I'm pretty sure that's the guy. Yeah, mother was the princess of Volhynia and Haluch, but mostly Volhynia. So you should be the heir to Volhynia, but you're not the heir to Volhynia. I don't understand. Cities have been made a little bit cheaper, so we're going to urbanize these two locations. They are food locations, which typically I'll try not to urbanize, but we also have livestock over here, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. That's great. Thank you very much, game. That's cool. On the bright side, I think we are becoming richer faster than our subjects are, which should be helping the ratio a little bit. Not that it's a big deal. I mean, it's what, 2% increased antagonism? Slightly reduced crown power and loyalty from subjects. The penalties aren't even that bad. I just don't like having them. See, exactly as I said, I don't expect any plagues, but it's good to build a hospital. That's great. Just a quick 100,000 dead to smallpox. There we go, Grand Duke is dead. We're gonna keep Vilnius, of course. And we don't get Volhynia. Alright. Just some random unrelated guy in charge now, that's cool. Let's see, do we actually have any more laws to change? We could actually swap away from traditional law to civil law to get more legislative efficiency. Now, this might all be kind of confusing, because why do we want more legislative efficiency? It seems kind of pointless. Except it isn't, it's just really bad at explaining why. All it says is how quickly it implements laws, government privileges into state privileges. It actually does more than this. It also decreases your antagonism gained from taking stuff at war. Unfortunately, we're not at war, so I can't show you that right now. But yeah, it's actually a good modifier to stack. I've also had some people ask me about like actual strategizing and stuff, and to explain what I do in these videos, which is a fair point. I don't actually explain that much. And that's mostly a carryover, like a little relic from the EU4 era on this channel, where I just kind of assumed most people watching me at that point just kind of knew how the game worked. But of course, EU5 is still kinda new, so let me explain what I'm doing. This territory is going to subjects because they have their local capitals, so they actually get proximity and thus can earn money in these territories. I, of course, don't earn that much money in these territories because I only get just a little bit of control, which is essentially because they're a core. You get the 20% from a core, and then people in here are a little bit upset, so I lose some control. But if I give it to a subject, usually the people there are happy because, you know, they have the same culture and the same religion, usually. So then they can make money and then they can pay me taxes. And whatever money they don't pay me, they can reinvest in their own economies to make more money. Because, of course, in EU5, if nobody has any control over an area, the money simply doesn't exist. It doesn't go to the estates, it doesn't go to the population, there is literally no money. This isn't Victoria 3, people don't work jobs for wages. They don't have money that they spend on things. They're simply employed at a location if it's profitable, and if it's not profitable, then they don't get employed. In other words, the money over here is being wasted. At least somewhere in the ballpark of like 85% of it. The stuff over here, especially the capital, is losing no money whatsoever. That's of course why we want to make the capital a city, because we can literally build faster, build more at once, and also promote pops faster, so that we can employ high-value buildings faster and actually collect that money. Or if we don't collect that money, then it actually goes to the estates and they can spend their money on stuff. Preferably we just tax them, but obviously we can't tax 100% of everything here. As for why my stability is so high and I keep spending money on it, that is because we want a lot of monthly promotion. Oftentimes, early in the game, we actually build buildings faster than we can train people to work in them. So you want to get that library, build a bunch of buildings so that you have extra opportunities, a lot of empty jobs that could be filled, and then stack a bunch of things like free subjects, positive stability, city location rank, having higher literacy. All those things allow you to train people faster. This is how we're going to get Vilnius to become wealthier than Krakow, despite the fact that Krakow starts as a city and is significantly wealthier at the start of the game. Now, I think I explained why I'm converting my subjects to Romuva. The main reason is for opinion, of course. We need to have at least 125 opinion to annex a subject. I think it's at least 125 to continue, 150 to start. But I never explained, of course, why we are also culture converting them. That's because if we look over here, we're annexing Turov, for example, and we can see that the cultural influence of Oxstatian versus the tradition of Polesian is reducing the speed. Well, if you and your subject have the same dominant culture, or in other words, the state culture, then you get a plus 100% bonus. So, of course, it just allows us to annex faster. And we want to do that because the longer you spend annexing, the more diplomats, in quotes, you spend on annexing. You can see, for example, here, annexing countries, minus 0.1. Obviously, we want to integrate subjects as fast as possible so that we can keep on expanding. Even though, technically, we're going to lose money doing this because we can't collect as many taxes. Or, in other words, there is literally less money being generated from these territories. But that's not a big deal because eventually we're going to get the better roads that we need to link up the country better. And more importantly, we don't want to overinflate our diplomatic capacity. The penalties are actually not that bad. We could probably go up to 50% over the limit and not really worry about it too much. I just think it's bad practice, which is why we're integrating this manually. Although, frankly, it would be a better idea to release it as a subject and then integrate it, especially when I should consider turning this into a city as well, which of course is going to require more population. Well, I guess we could do that anyway. As for population, another big thing is that if you concentrate pops in the city, or in an urban location, then of course you can upgrade it into a city. That's going to give you more pop capacity, right? You can see over here we get plus 100,000 from it being a city. And then if we check over here, population growth kind of depends on how much available population capacity you have. That's a pretty big modifier, as well as prosperity, but don't worry about that. So the more you urbanize, the larger your population capacity, the more people flock to the cities, actually emptying out some of these rural locations, which in turn then have more population capacity remaining themselves. So ultimately, urbanizing allows you to have a much larger population and faster population growth. It's also necessary to increase demand for some things and also to give you more marketplaces. But I also just don't like having a lot of marketplaces in the capital because they do take up building slots or building levels. And marketplaces are a kind of building that is mostly useful anywhere. You always get the trade capacity and the trade advantage, but more importantly, you get market access. So if we build some over here, then it makes this a much better location because it has better access, so we can sell its goods for a higher price to the market. But you could also argue that having a bunch of marketplaces allows you to increase your burger trade capacity in your main city, which is also useful because your main city, of course, is going to have a lot of burgers. So honestly, you can make a good case for either direction. Also, why are we building mainly armored cavalry? Well, that's because cavalry, I think, take 25% less damage than regular troops. They're also pretty strong. They have 4 combat power, 5 combat speed, and 2 combat initiative. Compare that to the other units, they're pretty much better than all of them, except for archers in terms of initiative. But most importantly, they're just the most manpower efficient. Right now, we just don't get that much manpower, we just have the sergeantry. And since money is the least of our concerns right now in terms of building an army, we have to optimize for manpower. We're going to keep on stacking more literacy, mostly for the burghers, to be honest. I don't really care if the nobles have a lot of literacy. They don't really contribute much to research because they're not really a big part of the average literacy. There aren't that many of them. They don't need the literacy in order to promote to other things. I think it also increases their demand for things, so that can be helpful for the economy. But I'm much more interested in picking up religious war. That's a good CB for us. And then maybe if we can also pick up more legislative efficiency. Here, if we annex Courland, you can see we get the dominant culture buff, so we can annex it quite quickly. We could go to war again soon if we really wanted to. Of course, we do actually still have a coalition, but it's not a very big one, and I feel like I can probably fix it. Literally, all we have to do is improve relations. That's it. You can see down here, improving relations reduces the overall antagonism. So if we can get it far enough below 50, there's a chance they might leave the coalition. Not that it ultimately matters too much, because of course we're super strong at this point. Now, we can pick up a parliament issue once again, and I think we're going to go to war. So we'll pick up whatever, doesn't really matter. I guess this one's fine. We'll get rid of these markets to claw back a little bit of power. Mostly we want this CB, and I think we're actually going to go after Poland this time. Poland is currently at war with a couple different countries. Hungary is fighting a coalition war. They're winning the coalition war, but they have a lot fewer troops, so that might not last very long. So I think it should be relatively easy for us to invade a weakened Poland with weakened allies. So we'll go to war with Rawa here. We'll just pick this as the war goal. And this should be a relatively easy war. Yeah, these are not very difficult battles. No doubt because we actually have so much cavalry. That's why I like picking up the noble levies, since those are mostly from the actual noble estate. I wish I could show you that, but we do have them raised, so we can't. Anyway, this war is pretty much done. We'll just skip to the part where I take all their stuff. We might also start accepting some institutions soon. So to make that easier on ourselves, we're going to try and push innovative with a cabinet member to help us push innovative and also just get a little bit of extra development each month. We're also going to pick up urban development grants for the bourgeoisie, or however you pronounce this. Hungary's willing to leave this war, of course, since they have like no troops left, and that's fine by me. We can also get Halic to leave. Now, I was also going to use this war to show you the interaction between legislative efficiency and antagonism. Unfortunately, I think they changed the way the UI works, so now it just completely obfuscates how much antagonism you're receiving and why. If we're able to hover over any of these numbers, it just says, oh, it's because you're taking territory. It used to give you a full breakdown of the modifiers, one of which was legislative efficiency. I'll put a little picture of that up on screen here, but now we just don't get to see it at all. So whether or not legislative efficiency actually still affects this, I guess we'll never know. But assuming they didn't change that mechanic, it should still work the same way. You just can't see it anymore, which is fun. And if you're wondering, no, you can't hover over this number to get any useful information either. It's just a whole lot of nothing. You'll just have to take my word for it, or don't, that's fine. I don't even know if it's actually still implemented this way. In any case, this is the peace deal we're going to be taking. It is a lot of antagonism. It's going to make a lot of people pretty upset. Fortunately, this is going to be one of the last wars we can declare for a while anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. We're just going to quickly improve relations with Bohemia and maybe Wolgast at some point maybe. Then we do have a couple of subjects we can make. We'll make this one here, and another one here, and another one here. It's probably worth tolerating Ruthenian. Then we'll get around to Latvian at some point as well. We're going to start integrating Latgalia. Should be relatively quick. Another really useful thing about increasing your annexation speed in your subjects is it means you can annex multiple subjects at the same time, and that actually ends up integrating your subjects as a whole much faster. For example, we're getting 3.1 here. If we didn't have the minus 50%, we'd get 3.6. But if we annex Latgalia at the same time, we're getting 3.02 here and 3.1 here. So because we're annexing two subjects, we're actually getting a combined 6.12 progress of annexation per month. Whereas if we just have the one annexation going on, we're only getting 3.6. So ultimately, that's why creating subjects and annexing them has the potential to be significantly faster than integrating with your cabinet in the early game. And another big benefit is that we get the cores of our subject. Note that this stuff is mostly Curonian, and while we do tolerate Curonian, we don't have it accepted, meaning that if we took these provinces and annexed them and integrated them with the cabinet, we actually wouldn't get cores because it's not an accepted culture. But because it was a subject and we annexed them, we get their cores, which includes all of this stuff that normally I wouldn't be able to core. EU5 really is just having a billion of these small little tidbits of information, each one offering you a slight advantage, and then you put them all together and it gives you a huge advantage over the AI. And if you're wondering why we took mostly this stuff over here, it's just because the rivers kind of naturally flow this direction. So when we integrate these subjects, we should be able to get more proximity. If we wanted to, we could have taken a bunch of stuff up here. In fact, we would be able to take more stuff because there's less control. And since we're in the age of Renaissance, the control impact on war score is only minus 20%. So if you have a lot of control, the war score goes up pretty substantially. But one, this territory doesn't really matter to Poland because they have no control, and two, it doesn't really matter much to me because I won't get much control. Are there any other laws I'd like to pick up? Well, first we'll take this. I don't know why I do that each time, because I could just wait. We could swap away from feudal administration to autonomous councils. Again, that'll give us more legislative efficiency. If they didn't change this mechanic, then it's of course good to pick more of that up. And just as a final little bit about cities and where you want to build your production, It's useful to keep in mind that any location within a province that has a specific good needed for production will get a production efficiency bonus. Basically, because there's livestock in the same province as Vilnius, if we build a bunch of tanneries, we'll actually get more production efficiency. See, we get 5% just because there's livestock nearby. So aside from stacking the basics, like paper, tools, cloth, anything that gives you a really good production efficiency bonus is a really solid target for, well, really any city. Like when I play Norway, there is a silver mine right here. So I like to build a city or a town here that focuses on jewelry. It's pretty close to Oslo, and it does get the efficiency bonus from the silver. This allows you to generally produce more things for each building, which gives you what we call comparative advantage. So especially early on in the game, you can focus on producing and exporting some very specific high-value goods. And just like that, Vilnius has become wealthier than Krakow, if I can find it. Here we go. They have a tax base of 28.98. Vilnius is 31.89. The next target to aim for is probably either Prague or Paris. But Prague, of course, has the exact thing that we talked about. They can build a bunch of jewelers' guilds because they also have this gold province right next to it. So they make an absurd amount of money. Let's see if we can get the Polotskian culture to like us a little bit more. There we go. I actually should have kept a subject down here, because every 50 years I could slowly improve the opinion of the Policians. I guess I could still do that. I invade Kiev and then make new subjects. Oh man, this would have been great much earlier. Minus 20% antagonism at a time when I can't take any more antagonism. Well, I guess I could, but we'll see. Sometimes trade in this game is frustrating. Because what do you mean I'm importing tin and then the burghers just decide to export it? I want to import it so that I can build a royal garden. We do not have enough tin to build the royal garden. So I'm going to import tin. And then the burghers just break into the storehouses and decide to export all of the tin that I'm trying to import. So now we never stockpile tin and I am never able to build what I want to build. There has to be a better way to do this. Okay, we finally have enough tin. Well, not enough, but some tin. It's enough to start building the royal garden at least. We've annexed a few subjects. We've also gotten stronger. I think we can probably go to war again. This time we're going to get a CB on, I think, Kyiv, just for anything in particular. It should be a relatively easy war because the Golden Horde just finished fighting a civil war. Looks like they don't have any regulars, so it shouldn't be a big deal. It's not going as well as I'd hoped, but it actually isn't going that poorly because my subjects are grouping together, defeating a couple of units, occupying some territory while I focus on the war goal. Judging by the casualty trends though, I think we're going to be okay. For the first time in a while, I actually do want to pay for this, because there's no other way for me to get a spy network in Kyiv. I can't build one because they're a tributary, possibly the dumbest reason to not be able to build a spy network. It's not like they're a vassal or a fiefdom, they're just a tributary. They have quite a bit of autonomy. Secondly, the Golden Horde, for some reason, is outside of my diplomatic range. So we still can't get a spy network in here. I don't even have to get into the intricacies of how spy networks could absolutely be a local thing, specific to where you're trying to invade somebody, rather than, oh, we have to go to the capital and steal the top secret documents. At least Hoi 4 got this kind of correct. Oh, and of course my son is dead. That's lovely. Might as well start piecing out with all of the subjects. Are these all tributaries? No, a lot of these are like actual subjects. Okay. Actually, you know what's really funny? I just thought about this deity system, and I'm pretty sure if we swap to the creator deity, we actually get plus 0.02% population growth, in addition to the other things that prosperity gives you. Because 0.1% monthly prosperity basically raises the equilibrium by about 10%, and each 10% prosperity gives a location 0.02% population growth. And it also gives you higher life expectancy, more migration attraction, and increased local monthly development. So not only does it give us more population growth, but it actually also gives us more development, which increases the maximum population and a bunch of other things, which allows for even faster population growth. Of course, it has a limit. You can't go past 100% prosperity, but you know what? I don't think we're gonna hit that for a really long time. In fact, because of that, it might actually make the fertility deity the worst one to pick from the entire list, because it's rendered obsolete and everything else is more impactful. So yeah, we're gonna replace this, and we are going to pick up the monthly prosperity. Oh, but then you only get 0.05%. But down here it's 0.1%. Why would they do this? Everything else is the exact same value, but they changed just this one? I guess they realized it would overshadow it. Okay, well, in that case, it's still only slightly better. I wish I could give my subjects orders like I could in EU4, because I kinda need someone to siege this for me. That would be really nice. Or I guess I could split my army and siege it. I've picked up pretty much every tech I want right now, and we've just gotten the ability to embrace professional armies, so we're going to do that. First thing to do is pick up these military tactics, and then the recruitment law. This basically just gives us more levies. I'll pick this up for some good cavalry. I think we also want men-at-arms to improve our average troop. And then, of course, we can pick up heavy cavalrymen to give ourselves even better cavalry. And that should last us basically until the next stage. We've pretty much won the war. I just want to grab this one last fort. But in the meantime, we do want to pick up a second CB. We'll do this, and we're going to fabricate against Volhynia. Super easy to do that for this location. And with that, we're now ready to end this war. After I extract infinite prestige. Now that I really think about it, fighting someone like the Golden Horde might be the only reasonable way to get enough prestige to actually become a kingdom or empire. You can just go to each of their little subjects, ask them for a slight bit of money and to humiliate, and it's 10 prestige every time. You want to humiliate the Golden Horde? 10 prestige. Humiliate some one province minor country that barely has 7 population? Also 10 prestige. Okay, now because we sieged this over here and we sieged this over here, we can actually take more stuff. Not a lot, but it is a lot of forts, and that's useful. Oh, okay. We won the war and he immediately died. That's cool. We're gonna keep Vilnius, of course. Unfortunately, while the population did go up a lot, it's not really close enough to the 2 million we need to become a kingdom, but we could fix that. What if I go to war with Volhynia? It's another war with the Golden Horde? Wait, what? Okay, you know what? I'm actually gonna roll that back. I had no idea. So actually what we're going to do is get this CB against Volhynia, and then we're going to declare war against them. We can re-raise the levies, of course, and then we're gonna peace out with all of these subjects and of course take all the stuff we want. Okay, funny enough, we actually get to go to war with Kiev again because they're allied to Volhynia. Not really a big deal in this case. Alright, Kiev, we're not going to take anything else. I guess we'll just take money, war reps. Annul your treaties with Muscovy. Are you allied? Yeah, okay. Not anymore, you're not. Humiliate too, just for fun. And actually, this looks bad, so I'm taking that. And we're also going to dismantle this fort, and that fort, and this one. Volhynia is not willing to give up because Bulgaria is in this war for some reason, but that's really not my problem. So we'll just wait until they do give up. That is a fine-looking kingdom of Lithuania. We do now actually have quite a bit of diplomatic capacity. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep diplomatic traditions. Currently, it is giving me around 2.5 extra max diplo capacity. Not sure what I would replace it with though. Or maybe the Privy Council. Yeah, that would be a good one. I think this would be a good place to end things off. We are the number 13 power in the world, with some pretty sizable population, lots of subjects. We have a pretty decent tax base, mostly because Vilnius has become a pretty big city with a potential tax base of 55. I think at one point it was actually higher. We did successfully convert quite a bit actually. There are 1.28 million Romuvan pops in the world. A lot of those are of course also in subjects that I've started converting. The thing that probably surprises me the most is the proximity and how it's actually not that bad. At the start I didn't expect us to have any proximity by the coastline, but we have at least a little bit. I don't know if I show this off, but we also did do a lot of urbanizing. I think at the start of the game we have maybe 3 towns, possibly 5. So I went ahead and made at least another dozen, and I think it's been a good idea because we get more nobles, clerics, and burghers, and they all demand more specific goods, which means we can build more profitable things. They also help with getting more control so we can make more money. So that was pretty instrumental to our success. Not to mention, if we wanted to, we could also embrace banking and Renaissance right now. They're fairly cheap because we've been pushing towards innovative, so we are at 50.78. But there you have it, Lithuania. Definitely not as hard as I expected it would be. Except we do actually get a lot of antagonisms. That's still something to watch out for because of our very different religion. It only really made the game a little bit harder, which of course makes the game fun. If I were you though, I'd probably wait until they give Romuvan a little bit of an overhaul. If you've played pretty much any of the pagan religions, you've kind of played all of them. Unless, of course, you're in the New World and then you play the Aztecs and their doom mechanic apparently doesn't work yet. Or at least not the way it's supposed to. That's what they talked about in the dev diary for the upcoming update, which apparently comes out in February, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed your time here, and if you did, leaving a like would be a great way to let me know. Also, if you're not subscribed yet, or if you were subscribed, it is that time of the year where YouTube goes around and unsubscribes people who they think are bots, so it's worth giving that a check. But for now, I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you very much to the Patreon members for this month who get early access to videos for as low as $1. But some of them decide to donate more than that, so I'd like to give a very special thank you to Erica, Baby Cow, Borderline All-Star, Gallo4, Gorka Maistegi, Licka Becker, Mikhail Sample, Nick Steffel, Princess Rhea, Q-Brute, Spiro, Tillman Augustin, AG Forero, Ben Mottram, Quiet Guy, Rossat, Torvalved, Ambient Cyan, James Levy, Luke78776, Stalin DLRP, and Robert.